just want to join in welcoming all of you to today's session at Crown Plaza, hosted by TRIPLEOKLAW Advocates. My partner, Mr. Cheng, has spoken about our 20 years. It may not look much, but you know, a lot of firms do not get to live that long as a formation. So I think in a sense, I want to thank God for having made it possible for us to stay together for that long. People come and go. I mean, a typical age before you disband is much less than that. So I think it's really quite something to say we are here 20 years later, basically how we started. And in the firm, we do many things, and I'm sure my colleagues will come and speak about what they do. But my team does real estate and conveyancing and bank work. That is typically involves on the real estate side, advising developers on acquisition of property, developing the property, and disposing of what they have built. And basically, I mean, typically that project cycles sometimes are long for bigger projects. You look at maybe 2 years, 3 years for some of the projects that we do. We also have, of course, the single person buying one house or two houses or 5 or 10, but that will not be on the project side. On the project side, it's where you are actually, buying land to develop and, going ahead and developing that. Then we also do work for banks, and banks, of course, do lending. They lend the developers, so there's a fair amount of that. A lot of it is, most of the bank securitization is, of course, just the typical bank work that you do. But there are times, of course, when you've got unique projects or unique circumstances that require a slightly different way of doing business. I should also point out that in the last couple of years, we've had the Ministry of Lands digitizing records, which has affected the way work is done. There were issues initially regarding what was perceived as a pushback by lawyers, that this would take away work from them. But I think with time, people realize it's difficult to move forward and digitize. And I think the accommodation that was received by the legal profession, in the sense that you still have to go through a lawyer, is a good thing in getting people to accept, getting practitioners to accept that that's a way of doing business going forward. I would say that it has led to excessive delays as the digitization was going on. A fair amount of that work has been done now, and I'm hoping that by the end of the year 2022, most of what we do would be on the digital platform, which has its advantages. In things will be able to move much faster, and we will be able to improve turnaround time for those who are disposing or buying property. I think that's what I would like to report in regard to that we are seeing a situation where things are changing. For the people who are from banks who are here, I think I've seen a number of people from banks. What you'd expect is that once that process is completed, that you'll be able to, transact much faster. We really ought to be where in the Western world where you could see an advert for a property, look at it, you have faith that the records are properly kept. I was told once of a transaction where somebody saw literally a property advertised as he was on the way to the airport. So in between, he called the realtor and said, I'm interested in this property. By the time he reached the airport, he had already, put together basically the transaction and gotten it moving so that as he traveled, he knew the deal is done, the property was done. The only thing is now exchanging money for the paperwork. But in terms of the faith in the system, he didn't have doubt. So I think in terms of the way forward, I see that we will be in a good place in a few years. I think banks continue to lend. There are times when there are challenges because things are not working the way they should. But I think as a team, I would say that we've really done quite well in the matters that we are handling as a firm, in succeeding and not having a problem at the end where you've bought air or you bought a property that gives you problems. Thank you all very much and welcome once again.